Hey, welcome to Auto Globe, Auto Transport, your favorite TV show on modern day transportation. This is a show where we engage the most influential and knowledgeable players in the transportation sector of the nation's economy on the most topical issues and most current trends. My name is Austin Ian. The recent grounding of the Bristol helicopter line of helicopters following the recent crash is no longer news. The action taken by the NCAA was not seen as a loss of confidence in the activities of the particular airline that operates that particular helicopter, but measures that have to do with enhancing the security of aviation transportation in Nigeria. That brings to the fore a lot of issues surrounding aviation in Nigeria today, such as the airline stress levels, the recurrent problem of loss of baggage, and so forth. And to discuss these issues and put them in very clear perspective with me in the studio is Elder Benga Olowo. He is the president and CEO of Sabre Network, former executive director of Bellevue Airlines, and currently the president of Aviation Round Table. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Let's just start with, as I mentioned in my introduction, the grounding of the Bristol helicopter, a line of helicopters that involving the one that crashed recently. What do you make of that action by the NCA, and what is the significance of it?
Thank you very much. That particular issue has three bosas, or what we call three kudos. For the first time, there's an accident in Nigeria where the airline did what they have to do, and there was no loss of life. That was the first time we had an accident, no loss of life. So kudos to the airline. To our CAA for grounding that aircraft type. Not grounding the airline, grounding the aircraft type shows professionalism. That's the ideal thing to do. Are there airworthiness directive that must be checked on that particular series of aeroplane before they continue? It's very positive. Very, very positive. Not grounding the airline. Because the airline may have other type of aeroplanes, exactly, and they will continue in business. I mean, what we deal with the case of Dana was suicide. Because of government interference. If CAA were to do their job, CAA would have done the proper thing on Dana. This time around is kudos to our CAA for doing what they had to do. And the third kudos I will give is to government. For our current Minister of Aviation, for our Senate, for our House of Rep, for not saying, go and do that.
Exactly.
It's kudos to government for not interfering.
Exactly.
For trusting the CAA to do their job, and they did the best they should do in the circumstance. This is very positive. Actually, we in Aviation Round Table, come March 4th, the first Wednesday in March, we're sitting down to exchange knowledge on regulation. Exactly. Regulation, enforcement, safety, and we are bringing very, very top people in regulation world over to talk about regulation. So we're inviting people to come and listen.
Okay.
Regulation in terms of safety, regulation economic, regulation in all its definition. That's what Aviation Roundtable we focus on in March, first Wednesday of March.
Okay, let's just let me take you up on that issue, that line of thinking, regulation. Is there enough being done on economic regulation? Because there's been a lot of safety, talk about safety regulation and so forth. One or two stakeholders come here and talk about the inadequacy of economic regulation. What do you say about the state of economic regulation right now?
State of economic regulation, it's very, very dangerous. It's like economic regulation of our CAA does not exist. And if it does exist, it must be empowered. I took up one of the officers one time, and I said, what are you doing about economic regulation? And it's like interference from government will not allow that department to move. So I want to appeal to government this time around, don't interfere. We have a professional minister of state, who is one of us. If economic regulation does not do its job, we're planning for accident. Because everything boils down on money. Because that might lead us to the other issue you mentioned about our airlines. Are they distressed? Or are they stressed or distressed?
Yes.
Or absolutely insolvent?
Exactly.
All right? Economic regulation from time to time should check the health level of our airlines.
Yes, and give them a bill of health.
You, this airline, the way I'm looking at you, when you go to a doctor, it feels your temperature.
Exactly.
Oh, did you say you are having a running stomach? First and foremost, I can see fever. Economic regulation must check the health of the airline from time to time. It isn't go and bring your accounts book.
Yes.
And we have $1 billion assets because we have aeroplanes and we have spares and we have that.
And you have infrastructure.
That is not it. We need to check the liquidity of our operators. Where is the cash to buy what you need now?
Exactly.
Those assets cannot translate to cash. Liquidity is the issue. If you're not able to do what you have to do now, you're planning for accident. So economic regulation of our CAA must wake up.
Exactly.
That has to be done, not with the objective of coming to shut our airline down, no. With the objective of our airlines must continue to operate. I said to myself many times, how many ministers of aviation have we had and say, you failed the airlines, come.
Exactly.
Why have you failed? What made you fail? And some of the reasons some of them have been shouting on the newspaper, in the media. Nobody seems to be listening. For instance, today, if an airline has no access to dollar, and it has to bring in a spare tire, or it had a windshield, and it has to replace immediately, and that dollar is not available, what will happen? You are already planning failure.
Exactly.
Because once your schedule is disrupted, and you can't do that schedule, your source of income is impacted.
Exactly.
So failure comes from so many directions.
Yes.
And I will expect the current minister, both of state and of transport, to pay a very objective attention to the stress level of our airlines, to their distress level, and to their insolvency challenge. It's not about, let's disburse money as it was done in the past. Our intervention fund. Some people had their game behind that. Exactly. I don't want to talk about that.
Exactly.
Don't come an intervention fund this time around. How would my airline survive to year 2050? How many players we want to find in Nigeria by year 2050? Are they going to be able to compete the players that are on ground? You know, I heard the president airline operators of Nigeria one time is saying foreign airlines are moving X tons of dollars from our market every year. And I said to myself, is it foreign airlines' fault?
Or is
it our own fault?
Operational environment.
Is it that our airlines can't compete? Because if our airlines can compete, you will rescue market share.
Exactly.
So the amount of tons of dollars that are moving year in, year out will reduce.
Exactly.
So, if I am the Minister of Transport, I will say to myself, I need to produce airlines that can compete.
You were an airline manager yourself in Bellevue. You were the executive director. So let me put you on the spot here. Why did Bellevue
airline fail?
Bellevue airline failed.
That would be a discussion.
And what was the stress level? What was the stress level at that time?
That would be a whole program of 2-3 hours.
Give us a summary.
Before Bellevue failed, how many airlines in Nigeria failed? Okada, Kabu, Haka, Haku, and all the rest of it. Basically, one, the environment of business in Nigeria makes you fail before starting. The people that regulate the business either do not know what they are regulating, or they don't have the will to make the business survive. So the environment, tons of issues. When you talk about multiple taxes,
yes.
When you talk about spares, when you talk about access to funds, when you talk about financing, reaction from the rest of the world when national disasters happen. When you talk about insurance, for God's sake, when the airlines bring where it is pinching them to the table, who listens? And when nobody listens, I think, oh, you operator, you are just a rogue. You just don't know what you are doing. Somebody set up a business, for God's sake, with an objective.
To make profit.
Deliver service, return dividend to the owners. So now you see the guy that started the business, you're telling him you don't know what you are doing. When the minister issues such a statement. So, airline failure on one part, environment. On the other part, because you want to hang in there, even the operator themselves. Because you must hang in there.
You tend to want to lower
you tend
standards.
Want to do certain things
Cut
to
corners.
hang in there.
Exactly.
I don't want to call it cut corners, but you must stay in there. And so while wanting to stay in there, you take a lot of wrong decisions. Wrong decisions. You throw sometimes economics into the wind. The economics of this business. All right? For instance, the way we were trained, aviation is not mass transit. It's not mass transit. Aviation competes with your telephone. Before telephone came, aviation was the fastest. So if you're going to go for the fastest and most efficient form of transportation, it's aviation. You have to pay for it. So the way we were trained, when you sell your first and business class of the aeroplane, you've made your money. Not until you now turn it to a bus. And you must sell all the seats. And when you sell all the seats and you still don't break even, then something is wrong. That is not the concept of aviation. So you find some of our operators operating like that. And then you want to fill 120% capacity, meaning that you're going to put passengers on the wing outside to break even.
Exactly.
The tariffs are wrong. So when the tariffs are wrong, because you must survive, you must pay for fuel, you must pay all these multiple taxes, you can never break even. So on the side of the operator, we have our own fault.
Exactly.
But to a very large extent, the environment created it. You ask the airline to collect the airport money, the CAA money, the VAT money, and all those are part of your tariff. So the airline becomes a revenue collector. He collects 10 naira, and 6 out of the 10 naira is going to give out, and the guy is not earning any charges on the funds collected. That is not the job of an airline. It's not a revenue collector.
Exactly.
So if I charge a passenger 10 naira, and I know about 90% is the income of the airline would direct its funds to run its business. But today, he's collecting revenue for too many people.
Exactly.
And so what is left for him is not even sufficient to meet his own needs.
Exactly.
And so he gets progressively distressed, and from distress level becomes insolvent. And if care is not taken, if economic regulation don't wake up, if an airline owes the fueler, owes the bank, owes the partners, owes the catering, and is owing everywhere, is owing the hoteliers, accident becomes inevitable.
Exactly.
May we not have that.
Amen. There's been a spike recently in loss of baggage, even by so-called world-class airlines within our airspace, within our environment, and around the world. What are the issues here, especially as it impacts on passengers?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Each time I heard the news about loss of baggage, we celebrate what we need not celebrate in this part of the world. Missing baggage is part and parcel, or is one of the challenges of the business. And if you take a percentage anyway of flights that arrive with one or few pieces of baggage missing, give kudos to the airlines. Well, 99.9% baggage arrive, especially with connecting flights. Okay? So that baggage get missing, it's part of our business. But I don't want it to happen to me. So, one, let's stop celebrating that. There are procedures to handle missing baggage. There are standard regulation and procedures. If your baggage does not come, take it that the airline doesn't want to throw your baggage away in the first instance. He wants to deliver. His contract is for you and your baggage to get to destination. So if it's missing, just go in there, do what you have to do, fill the form. The baggage will come the next flight or thereafter. Don't forget that when you check in the baggage, especially these days, maybe self-service. You go to the kiosk out there, it's self-service, and the baggage is labeled. No matter the level of technology, man is still involved.
Exactly.
And once man is involved, there will be degree of error. When your baggage gets to the loading area, man will put it in a container. Man will put it inside the aircraft. So errors will happen, especially with the manpower of these days, who think every solution is in Google. Every solution they must find in Google. They don't pay attention to details. We use codes in the airline industry. Lagos is LOS. Los Angeles, in far west USA, is LAX.
Yes.
But when you hear Lagos and Los Angeles, they sound similar.
LA. Some people call it LA.
Yes, some people say LA.
Yes.
So you might think Lagos.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Los Angeles. And somebody sorting the baggage somewhere out there take a Lagos baggage, and that baggage finds itself in Los Angeles. Human error. Human error.
Exactly.
As it is happening to the Nigerian manpower, it's happening to the US manpower, to the Turkish manpower. It's manpower challenge. The way we were trained some 40-something years ago when we entered the industry, it's not the way training is going now. The airlines are not training. They don't invest enough in training. And the so-called handling companies that handle all these issues all over the airports of the world, they don't invest enough in training. So you're going to have all these problems.
Exactly.
When you check in as a passenger, my advice is cross-check. Where did you check me to? Lagos. Where did you label my baggage to? Lagos. Check yourself.
Exactly.
The error may start right from the counter. If not from the counter, maybe behind. And international regulation demands that a baggage is a baggage. The content is not known. The weight is known. So to educate our people, when checking your baggage, the airline asks you for the weight. If you have
for the weight.
they check your weight. They check your weight.
Yes.
Your weight is 20 kilos or it's 30 kilos, and it's written there. If you have valuable inside that aeroplane, valuable jewelry, wristwatch, camera, for God's sake, remove it. Because the price of the valuable is not the same as the weight. So if your baggage get missing and you have valuable inside it, and you say, hey, I have a suit, and that suit is 3,000 pounds, and the weight is just 10 kilos. There's a standard regulation for compensating you per kilo that will not recognize the value of the. Therefore, if you have valuable, go take insurance. Take insurance cover to take care of the valuable inside your baggage.
Exactly.
So we need a lot of education.
Exactly.
So the baggage is missing is not out of place.
Exactly.
It is part of our business, and of course the airline is not set out to deliver such a service.
Okay, just briefly, because our time is almost up. The transport minister is in charge of aviation, of course. What should, in a nutshell, priority, first things first, what should be his immediate priority right now?
The aviation minister, priority I would recommend as a practitioner is consolidation of the Nigerian airlines. Consolidation of the Nigerian airlines. That must happen quickly. Number one, if you have 20 airlines in the market today, you need 3 or 4 solid ones.
Yes.
That will compete with the foreign airlines on ground, rescue market share.
Exactly.
And you can only use regulation to do that.
All right.
An airline with 2 aeroplanes cannot compete well. Schedule cannot be okay.
All right.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number 2 will be our airports.
Okay.
As the airlines are advancing in technology, our airport has to advance in technology.
Exactly.
I mustn't get to the airport and one policeman is asking me, where's your ticket? At this time, there is no ticket. Don't ask me for my ticket. Don't ask me for my boarding pass.
All right.
So our airport must move at the same line with the technology advancement.
Consolidate airlines and improve our airports. Well, it's always a continuing conversation. It's a wonderful conversation, and I thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
I've been talking to Elder Gbenga Olowo, the current president of the Aviation Round Table and the former executive director of Bellevue Airlines. It's been an interesting conversation. I'm sure you will agree with me, and I thank you for watching. I hope you will join me yet another episode for a wonderful discussion with yet another guest on transportation. Until then, this is Austin Young. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. God bless.